Today we're talking about emerging stronger from what might be coming on 11/11. I'm Ann Tucker, and this is the Spirit Means Business YouTube channel. So I've been sharing these messages that I've been receiving from the angels. I am a trance channel, and I channel from the angelic realm. I do that by raising my consciousness up as high as I can go, and then a little higher, and then I start receiving these messages, and they just dictate. I write them down, and then I share them here with you. And several months ago, they started sharing messages with me about things that are going to be happening this fall that are going to be helping us leap into our awakening, that we're going through a sort of a 3-phase process. The first phase being COVID. The second phase is possibly coming on 11/11, which is going to be a giant earth rift that's supposed to affect all around the world. And you can see a video on that here in this playlist. And then the third is possibly a blackout that they're talking about, which may be a solar flare. So they're saying this is going to be really chaotic that we're heading into this fall. Coming up, here we are. It's the end of October, and so we're literally just a couple weeks away from 11/11. So yesterday they channeled for me a message about how is it that we can, survive through this chaos that's coming. How can we stay spiritually connected and emerge from this process stronger? So I want to go ahead and share the message with you that they gave me. There are some believing that this will happen within the second phase of occurrence, when you have already succumbed to the energies forthwith. There are not the same platitudes to express what develops when you have received our full blast to open your chakras. You will experience much travesty, but also open to our grace, and find our hand upon the earth to guide our gentle orchestration, to be held when we are implementing this turnabout. It is necessary to have this fortuitously guided and then opened as a pathway forward. So that's a doozy of a paragraph. They all are, like they pack so much into every sentence. But let's go back and just talk about some of the pieces there. The first thing is they talk about that this will happen, that some believe this will happen in the second phase of occurrence. That may be referring to the sort of the 3 phases I was mentioning, that there is the, COVID is the first phase, and then we have potentially this earth rift or super volcano that might be happening on the 11/11, and then we have the blackout, which may be a solar flare happening sometime after that. So they're saying that some may be believing that this is happening on or around the second phase. So I would interpret that to mean all on or around this 11/11 time period. And they're being, later you'll see they're being a little, they're not giving us a date yet for the third thing, for the blackout. Then they say that there's not enough platitudes to express what develops, that we can't possibly imagine how amazing this is going to be when we receive their full blast to open our chakras. So this is, to me, that was interesting, because that's explaining in this. I think here they're talking about the solar flare, and I think they're explaining, so as these energies are coming in from the sun, yes, it's a solar flare, but it also is going to have a spiritual effect on us. And I wasn't sure about that. I thought that might be the case, but this is the first time they've expressed it in a way that is, to me, it connects all the dots. So apparently this will open up all our chakras, which then allows sort of what's going to happen next. They said, you will experience much travesty, but also open to our grace and find our hand upon the earth. So yes, the travesty, that's with this super volcano. It's not going to be gentle, right? There's some really hard things we're going to have to get through. But they're saying, yes, we're going to experience those things, but also open to their grace. So these two things are hand in hand, that we have to, and they've said this before, that there is no message of solace around skipping the difficulties that are coming, that this is part of how we get there. But they've said that we will experience their grace, their hand upon the earth, finding their gentle orchestration. So they are guiding all of us through this process to be held when we are implementing this turnabout. So it really is sort of like shifting into this new dimension. It is necessary to have this fortuitously guided and then opened as a pathway forward. So all of this, like I said, all of this is really about bringing us forward and doing it through this process of opening our chakras. All right, the next paragraph. You will be guided into the chasm of your doubt. Submerge your fears and emerge forthwith with a new sense of purpose and calm. A knowing of all that will be tranquility will be upon your mind, and the sense of loss transient as you achieve new methods of awareness. So I love that. They're saying here that yes, we're gonna go through a dark period, right? That we might be experiencing doubt, and that we're going to be experiencing the sense of loss. And they're saying here that we need to be sure that they said to submerge our fears, and we're going to be emerging from this with a new sense of purpose and calm. That we're going to be feeling tranquil. That sense of loss that we're going to experience is transient, and that we're going to be achieving new methods of awareness. So I think that's why the sense of loss is transient. So even if it's a tragic loss, that these new methods of awareness that we're going to achieve, because they're opening all of our chakras, are somehow helping us in terms of understanding, I'm sure, understanding the larger spiritual purpose of everything that's going on. So I find that to be a pretty exciting paragraph. All right. Do not be sidelined by this occurrence. It will pass, and you will find the opportunity within to find your own voice more strongly, to have our hand upon you, to hold and be comforted. It is not all chaos within. You have calm retreat. Be salvation. Be peace. Be calm. You are the center of your universe. You are complete within your mind. So here I think they're really encouraging us during this process that even if there is chaos outside, that they really are talking about how we create our own reality, and that we can use this opportunity to really to pull back in and to find that peace and that calm within ourselves, and reconnecting, and strengthening our connection. I do think there is some method to the madness here about COVID isolating us, right? And making us all be separate from each other. And that puts us in our own energy. And when you're in your own energy, you become clearer. And same thing with this solar flare, that if this solar flare happens, the solar flare would bring down sort of all of the telecommunications, all of the wires and the transmissions, and all of that would stop for a while. We don't know how long, but for a while. And that interferes with our ability to connect. So here we are in our own energy. It's quiet. The air is quiet. So what will this do in terms of our own ability to connect? So I think nothing is an accident, right? Like exactly how this is unfolding may be exactly how it needs to be. So, all right. To have this touch happens once and begins after the cycle of your abundance. Do not fret for where or when it might develop. It has no hindrance to impede its full expression, and it will blast away all remnants of our negative focus to reveal your true selves, forbidden at times but never forgotten. So here they're talking about, because I was asking as I began this about the solar flare, because I don't have a date for that yet. So they're saying that this touch, it will happen once. It begins after the cycle of your abundance. And I don't yet understand what that might mean. The cycle of abundance could mean, like that could be after Thanksgiving. And they actually mentioned something later, but I think, so it could be, but a cycle of abundance to me seems seasonal. So it could come after a season of a harvest season. So I'm really not sure what that might mean. Maybe that will become clearer. But they said it begins after the cycle of your abundance. Or it could even mean after the cycle of abundance that we've been just finished going through a period where the world has been very, very wealthy for the most part. So, I mean, obviously unevenly distributed, but it has been a period of affluence for the whole planet. So maybe it's that. Maybe it's referring to that. And I almost skipped talking about this part, and I don't want to because I think this part is awesome. They say, do not fret for where or when it might develop. It has no hindrance to impede its full expression, and it will blast away all remnants of our negative focus to reveal your true selves, forbidden at times but never forgotten. So when I hear this, I think about when they say it'll blast away all remnants of our negative focus. That they're talking about here, I believe they're talking about, like, think about the polarization that we're experiencing right now, especially in the U.S., the polarization, people really being at odds with each other. And I think that I think this process is going to help heal that, which is so needed, right? So needed. And I think just on an individual level, how easy it is for us to slip into negative thought. So I think could be referring to that as well. But they say that it has no hindrance to impede its full expression. So they're saying nothing can stop it. That this is going to happen, and it's going to be at its full expression, and it's going to blast away that negative focus. So this is not taking a subtle approach. It's going to blast it away. So anyways, I really like that part. All right, the next paragraph here. The blackout, it comes. It will be perused within a moment, a blast of energy to superheat your junction, to explode some and carry the charge far and long. It will be most certainly explosive and very. Hindrance to come will be found in all things electronic, amplified by the extreme temperature of chill. It will be frigid with the full canopy that develops. Yes, this time is coming near. Be ready, for all will feel the effects. It is not to be divulged when, because the date is yet unset. It may be because of the turmoil that ensues after the calm in your own chaos. So here we're talking, because I was asking for the date, and they're talking about the solar flare, about this blackout, talking about that, yes, it will be really hard on electronics, and could be potentially explosive in the areas that are hardest hit. And I have another video that talks about how the effect may vary based on where you're located in the world. So there's a map that shows the world, that shows you sort of the waves of magnetism, which ones are where are you in terms of proximity to the poles is a factor. Another factor is the conductivity of the ground that you're on. So for example, within the United States, and also coastal areas, things close to salt water, because salt water is conductive. So in the United States, the East Coast, particularly the area between Washington, D.C. and New York, is very, very vulnerable. Also, they've mentioned another risk factor is the age of the infrastructure, and that area has an aging infrastructure. Also in the United States, it is like along the Gulf Coast and in the Midwest. And internationally, I didn't have the conductivity map for the rest of the world. I had North America, so US and Canada. I looked and looked and looked, trying to find something like that for the rest of the world, and couldn't. If you have ever seen something like that, or if you find something like that in this process, please do post it in the comments to share it. But anyways, the point here being that it may be in the areas that are hardest hit, it could be a very explosive experience. And they said that so hindrance would come in all things electronic. And then they said amplified by the extreme temperature of chill. It will be frigid with the full canopy that develops. So that they're referring to, I believe they're referring to the Earth Rift, which I believe is a super volcano, and I believe that is going to boil off a large, like a large amount of water. Could be like 3 or 4% of the Indian Ocean, and that's supposed to happen in or around the Indian Ocean. And that water would then go up into the atmosphere and create this really, really heavy cloud cover, in addition to whatever debris goes up because of this supervolcano. And that would blanket the Earth in a heavy cloud cover, reducing the temperature of the Earth. So it could create much cooler temperatures. So the way I'm thinking about this, if that it's your summer becomes like your spring becomes like your fall becomes like your winter, and your winter becomes a whole lot colder. So, and this is occurring potentially during the wintertime. So it depends. If it happens soon, we're looking at wintertime temperatures. So it could be very cold. So they're saying, yes, you're going to have the lack of things electronic. So that could mean, think of all the systems in your home, like your heat. Is it electric? Do you have electric heat? Then, well, that's going to be exacerbated by the fact that it's going to be really cold outside. So there's going to be some difficult times ahead that they are encouraging us. Yes, they are also saying that we create our own reality, that we need to go inside and be peace and be our own salvation. But they're also saying, be prepared. Like, it's very true with all manifestation that it is yes, it is your thought, is it your intention, but it's also coupled with right action, guided action. Here they're very clearly guiding us, and they have in many other channelings that I've gotten, that they want us to be prepared for this. And I talk a lot more about that in my Facebook group, which is the Spirit Means Business Facebook group on Facebook. And you're welcome to come join in that conversation. I'd love to see you there. So yes, so hindrance will come to the electronics, amplified by the extreme temperature. Then they go on to say, yes, this time is coming near. Be ready, for all will feel the effects. It is not to be divulged when, because the date is yet unset. It may be because of the turmoil that ensues after the calm in your own chaos. So here they're just really telling us, I keep asking for a date and they keep not giving me one. So I'm not sure, like when they say it may be because of the turmoil that ensues, that may be referring to the supervolcano. But I think the things that I am really taking from this message is the really, really exciting and beautiful things they're mentioning about the fact that during this whole thing, one of the things that happened, they open all of our chakras and they guide us towards new methods of awareness that help us to make sense of and to process all of the things that are happening. So they're really guiding us, and they say, to this turnaround, to this new pathway forward. So this is a very intentional and guided process that we're going through, and they are holding each of us. No one in this process is forgotten, and we're all being guided to a higher expression of ourselves. So thank you so much for joining me for this channeled message. I will be sharing more as I get them, and you bet as soon as I get that date for the third event, I will definitely share it. In the meantime, we are very close to 11/11. If you haven't done a few things to be prepared for that, I really encourage you to think about what feels right to you. I also don't want to forget to tell you, very importantly, that coming up this Sunday is the next session in my Angelic Frequency series, which is a series that I transmit from the angels. It's a 90-minute session where they raise all of us up. They levitate our energies up to a higher vibration, and they're designed to grow and develop your spiritual gifts. So if you are interested in healing or channeling or any of the expressions of your spiritual gifts, this is an amazing process. The results that people have been having have been mind-blowing, especially people who are already actively using and practicing with their gifts, because it gives a way for that energy to express. So they're planting the seed and helping to develop the energies, and then it's up to us to use that energy just like a muscle. We have to work it out and to grow it. But it's been an amazing process, and people have the messages I've been getting about people who are participating in those sessions are mind-blowing. So I hope you'll take advantage of it. That's on my website, which is anntucker.com/angels. It's ANNE Tucker.com/angels. You can find the way to join in there. It's going to be this Sunday coming up at 5 o'clock Pacific time. So thanks again very much for joining me, and I will see you next time.